Someday I'm going to do this introduction like Boris Karloff, except that I don't do impressions. Welcome to our roundtable and our conversation with interesting people who are involved in the publishing, writing, reading, book design, all sorts of things. You need to know that this is program number 23 in our exploration of the world of writing and publishing. With me in the studio are my two talented co-hosts and talented writers as well. Ellen Hart, author of the Jane Lawless series. I want to ask you about that because of something I read about Sophie the other day. And William Kent Kruger, who writes the Cork O'Connor series and is writing something entirely different. We're expanding our horizons a little bit. And a little later, we'll welcome Twin Cities writer Brian Freeman to our table. Ellen, for a long time you wrote two series, the Sophie Greenway series and the Jane Lawless series. Both involved people in the food business, but they were quite different. And what we have now is the Jane Lawless series with the delightful, if sometimes irksome, Cordelia Thorne. How is that doing? How is that going?
Well, first, what did you read about Sophie that got you? You can't remember.
I just read that it was an email from a woman who'd said she missed Sophie.
Yeah, I left them in a very bad place. I lost my editor, and so that was the end of the series. And I really would like to write one more because an ex-boyfriend in the series was turning into kind of a stalker.
I remember that.
Yeah. So I would like to write one more, but I'm delighted not to be writing two series. Commercial Speed in New York is a book a year. The expectation is that you will be turning a book in every year.
All right, now.
I couldn't.
And you couldn't really sustain that, could you?
I had two presses that each wanted a book a year, and I couldn't write that fast.
A book a year, is that your understanding of where you are with your press?
That's how my contract reads.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Because, as you may know, Dennis Lehane told his publisher what they could do with that kind of a contract.
Well, if you write a book that does as well as Mystic River, you can pretty much tell your publisher a few things. I'm not quite there yet.
Dan Brown.
I'm just grateful to be published, Carl.
Well, we all are. That's very true. But there are some interesting discussions going on about that whole business. Enid Shantz, who's in Denver and used to run a bookstore out there, pointed out that that writing is a talent, writing fast is a knack, which I kind of like that idea, because there are all kinds of reporters in this world who write lots and lots of words, novel-length stories, not all at once, and write them very fast because they're on these incredible deadlines.
Do you know, what I think you find in our genre is that those people who are not only able to write a book a year, but write a good book. Not necessarily a great book, but a good book every year, year after year after year. Those are the ones who ultimately rise to the top. And admittedly, it's difficult to write a great book in a year, and I think most of us settle for writing a pretty good book. But we all lust after the time Dennis Lehane has in terms of putting out a novel.
Well, it's about, I mean, Thomas Harris took, what, 10 years to write the sequel to...
Not a very good novel. So maybe time isn't the issue.
I don't think it always is, no.
I think that's right.
I think Dennis Lehane said that after his last Kinsey Patrick Kinsey book came out. It was called Prayers for Rain. And he said that they had hit stores. He realized how it should have ended. And that he had because he was writing so fast, he had no way of going back and,
changing it.
He just thought, I'm done with this.
Has that ever happened to you, where you've submitted a novel to your editor or to your agent, and then later looked at it and said, "Oh, I could have. What I should have done for the ending was X."
I've continued to play with things in my mind. Mm-hmm. And you know, I can't go back and even read my books because I can't turn the editor off. So you know, why did I use that? And you know, why did I use that word? Why didn't I take that paragraph out? So I don't go back and think about them much.
It's like the actors, particularly in movies and television, who insist that they never look at the reviews because they can't, or the rushes. I mean, I knew, not Clint Eastwood, but I can't think who it is now, who just said he never looked at the rushes. In fact, he wouldn't go to the movies. He's been in a whole lot of movies, 10 or 12 movies in the last 10 years. A journeyman actor, not a big star. He's never seen one of them. So he can't stand the idea of doing that, which, I mean, I can understand.
I usually have sort of the opposite kind of situation. When I turn in a manuscript, I think it's the worst piece of dreck I've ever written. And it's only when my editor says, "Oh, great job," that oh, thank God.
we are such pathetic human beings.
Another
but
reprieve.
You know, I finally started a blog some time ago, and my first project in the blog was to go back and reread each of my books to see how well they had, because I'd never done that before, to see how well they stood up. And you know, I'm a pretty good writer. That was my conclusion.
That's great.
Isn't that interesting?
That's great.
It is. And when I look at my books, I say, oh, you know, I really could have done that a different way, and it probably would have been better, or would have been different. August Wilson says, you know, that we don't ever finish these projects; we abandon them. And I kind of agree with that too.
I mean, I think at the end of a book, you are so sick of it. You are so sick of reading it. You're so sick of thinking about it that you really want to get it off your desk. When you get it back for editorial revisions, I think you maybe have a little bit more energy toward it. But you know,
but that's because of space.
Yeah, there are books that I have written that I know I don't like. I don't like them, and that doesn't mean they get bad reviews, but I don't like them.
It doesn't mean that they're bad books either.
I think it does.
You didn't like them all the way along through the whole process?
I never felt I connected to that story. Having written 25 books, you know, 26 now, but there are a couple, there are a few that I didn't care what anybody said. I liked those books.
You just liked them, and you wanted to go. You wanted to go with it. Well, listen, guys, we're going to take a short break.
That was fun, Carl. Thank you.
And you're welcome. I'll try to do that again.
All right.
We're going to take a short break, as I said, and then we'll be back with our guest author, Brian Freeman. Stay tuned.